Hi, this is Robin, your Inclusive Business Resource Network Capital Advisor, and welcome to our third video on startup capital. And in this video, we'll talk about equity capital. Equity capital, as a reminder, is when capital is made available to the business and there is no expectations that the capital will be returned, but there is an expectation that there's ownership or control in the business, and that the investors will get a share of any profits or proceeds when the business is sold. This video will be kind of short because most small businesses do not get equity capital for the businesses other than the owner of the business. So let's get started here. Let's talk first about sources of equity. Where can you get capital that can be used as equity? The first and most common type of equity capital is savings from the owner. So you as an owner may have savings. It could be a savings account. It could be extra cash that you've stashed away. It could be from your retirement accounts, though I don't necessarily recommend that because it could be a risky. But you have savings, and you take that savings and you invest that money into the business. Um, there's a variation of that called individual development accounts, savings accounts, or IDA. These accounts are often done for kind of an economic development perspective. It's offered by states and local governments. It could include a up to 5-to-1 match. So if you put in $5,000 into a IDA savings account, you could come out, after the program, you satisfy the qualifications of the program, you could get, additional $25,000 in matching funds. So therefore having $30,000 available to invest your business. These type of accounts typically have a low income eligibility requirement. So if you make too much or you have too many assets in your name, you may not be eligible for these IDA savings accounts. These accounts also typically require some training and education, meaning that you make a contribution to this account, you then have to participate in some training and educations programs before you get the match. Um, and there are different purposes and different programs out there. Here in Oregon, if you click onto the link that is shown in the video, it'll talk about all the current IDA providers that are out there, and you can connect with them and find out if they're a good match for your needs and your situation. Another type of equity capital typically comes from friends and family. And typically, their goal is to support you as a person and not necessarily make a profit. It could be a relative, it could be a close friend. They care more about you. They would love a profit, but they say, hey, I'm supportive of you. I want you to be successful in this business. Here's some money that you can use to invest in the business. So there's typically no or very few strings attached. And typically it's a relatively small amount, but those amounts can definitely add up. Another source of equity capital are grants. And grants typically is free cash. So there's no ownership, there's no repayment requirements, but they're typically for very specific objectives, geographies, industries, or purposes. They're offered typically by economic development agencies and sometimes foundations, with a desire to incentivize or support certain types of industries or businesses or geographies. So it's very possible that, there might be a grant program for businesses that open up in a certain neighborhood or a certain town. Um, and typically these grants, they're nice, but they're not huge, a couple $1,000s, and they typically only cover a portion of your needs. And oftentimes there's a matching requirement. So, the city may offer, $5,000 for a businesses in this industry or geography, but to get that $5,000, you'll also have to put in $5,000. And these grants are typically limited funds, and they're typically offered on a first come, first served basis or some type of competitive kind of grant making basis. So they're definitely out there. The money doesn't last long. It's typically a competitive process, and the best way to kind of find out about what grant opportunities are out there is to sign up for the Prosper Portland newsletter, and that I think they send out every 2 weeks. And in it, they'll often feature grants that are available. So keep an eye out for grants that might be suited to your needs. And then the final typical source of equity capital are investors. This is not common for small businesses, but these involve, angel or venture capitalists that are, third parties that make investments into businesses. They seek a financial return in the business and ownership in the business, and typically get a share of profits or proceeds when the business is sold. In fact, often there is an expectation that the business is sold in 5 to 10 years or somewhere in between, so they can recoup that investment. So they're willing to make a long-term investment, but their expectation is that you will sell the business at some point in the future, hopefully when it's worth more, so that they get their return. And these type of businesses are typically, or these type of investments are typically just for capital-intensive businesses. So that's it for equity. Again, thank you to Prosper Portland for making these series of videos available. Thank you.